Dear Diary, there's a sickness in this culture. One that keeps rewiring accountability until it doesn't look like accountability anymore. We live in a world that trains women to shrink, to silence their intuition, to second guess their clarity in the face of male charm. A world that hands women scripts like, maybe she was crazy, or he's not a bad guy, he just made a mistake, or worse, you should have known better. And we whisper these things to ourselves or hear them from friends trying to soothe our wombs with rationalizations that sound like comfort, but are actually just codependency disguised as compassion. But here's the truth, I'm done denying. The problem is not the other woman. It never was. It never will be. It's the man who knew he was committed and still opened the door. It's the man who kept that door ajar just wide enough to pretend he hadn't made a choice. It's the man who stared at your boundaries like they were negotiable, like kindness was a weakness, like loyalty was leverage to be manipulated. And I've seen it too many times, how women, desperate to hold on to someone they think they need, will redirect the blame to a woman who simply exists in the same room. They'll weaponize their pain and fire it sideways because aiming it forward would mean they'd have to confront the man they're scared to lose. But what if we stopped doing that? What if we all said, no more? What if women began to refuse the false safety of delusion? What if we stopped protecting men who will never protect us back? Because there is something so powerful, so sacred about being a girl's girl. It means holding the line even when no one's watching. It means believing another woman's discomfort before dismissing it as drama. It means asking what kind of a man would put you in a situation where you have to compete with another woman in the first place. A man who requires you to lose your dignity to feel loved is not a man worth loving. And yes, people can grow, but growth doesn't start with silence. It starts with consequences. And too many men have never faced a consequence that didn't come from a woman breaking down instead of walking away. So I'm done entertaining softness for those who offer none in return. I'm done watching women bend themselves backwards to be the exception in a story that was never safe for them to begin with. If you have to question if he respects you, he doesn't. If you have to question if he's loyal, he isn't. If you have to question if that other woman is really the problem, she isn't. I'll say it again. The problem is not the other woman, it's the man who lied to you both. And if you still need to look for someone to blame, start by looking at the one who asked for your trust and then broke it in the dark. The rest? That's just deflection. So I'll keep my moral compass, I'll keep my intuition, and I'll keep walking out of rooms where integrity has been replaced by ego. Because I'd rather be alone than be in a room full of people who normalize betrayal and call it love. XOXO, LJ. So today's topic is something that I hold close to my heart because the whole reason why this even came up to me to begin with is because I used to be very close with someone. And once I found out that she was, having relations with a man who was in a relationship and also has children, I felt like it was morally improper, so I told her that it was. I was like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. It's also disrespectful to the quality that you offer. Don't devalue yourself by being the other woman, And in the beginning, she had said that she was stopping it because she agreed with me. And then I found out months later that it was still continuing to go on. And not only that, but she had also told him the things that I told her in confidence that I noticed he had done that was weird and inappropriate with other women, given the fact that I thought they were together without knowing he had someone else. I know that sounds really messy because, to be honest, it is, okay? That's why we're not friends anymore. But I was like, okay, I don't want to be a part of somebody's morally improper life. I feel like that negatively impacts me, and I'm genuinely a girl's girl. It is absolutely not okay to be sleeping with another woman's man. Don't do it. It's not cool. It's ugly. That's not being a girl's girl. Don't turn around and post on your Instagram like, yeah, I'm a girl's girl. I respect women. I want to be in a room full of powerful women. Yeah, and then you go home to a man who already has one. You're not a real woman. You're a bitch. And I'm sorry to call you that, but it's just the truth. So that's what inspired this whole entire thing. Okay, because I think it's important that we redefine the way we perceive each other as women. We need to cut the bullshit and start getting to the real root of the cause. And a lot of times, The issues we face are due to men. And I want to make sure that all the men out there understand I am not the kind of woman who's like, I hate men. I actually have wonderful stories with guys. I date incredible men. I attract incredible men. They treat me very well. I am not depleted when it comes to the man department. But do you all do stuff that frustrates me? Abso-freaking-lutely, okay? Trying to say that women are complicated, but y'all are more complicated. That's why we're redefining our female relationships here, because y'all be doing some crazy shit and then women start hating each other because of it. So let's talk about it. So I think it's time that we talk about the cultural lie we swallow, okay? And how society rewrites accountability, especially when women are harmed by men. I mean, again, one of the things I found so unattractive about this individual was that she claimed that the other woman was causing him to cheat. And that to me is still very morally improper. That's not a justifiable reason to go take in another woman's man. And that guy, we can't even call him a man. No real man acts like that. Real men are consistent. Real men show up. Real men, they take care of their women. They hold it down at home. That's a real man. A man who's all up out here in the streets playing around when he's got a woman, that's not a man. That's a little boy. It's a little boy cosplaying as a man, okay? Let's keep the record straight. So, yeah, like, or he just made a mistake. Like, no. Why is it that we're expecting women to somehow be mind readers and now know which one's a player, which one's not? Yeah, okay, that would be great. But how about this? How about we, not normalize men disrespecting women? Because I also think that would make more sense. Some of the things I see all the time. I see so many girls, they are willing to sacrifice their morals and standards when it comes to the men that they like, because they feel so depleted by the quality of men that they're dating. So when they do meet a man that they like, they're willing to deal with the bare minimums, if not less, because of the fact that they are just so desperate to have that man. But the irony of it all is that those men actually want high value women with standards and boundaries. He won't respect you. Yeah, sure. Maybe he'll keep you around a little bit longer than he would somebody who's more serious because he's not ready for that. But at the end of the day, you're not getting the respect. You're not getting the attention. You're not getting the time. Okay. And the reason I know this is because I do. And then I sit and I talk to a bunch of women here in LA who complain about the men that they attract, complain out they're getting mistreated. And then it's like, okay, well, are you holding them accountable? Are you holding them to a standard? Are you walking away when they mistreat you? If the answer is no, 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 then here we are. Your clarity, you're putting away your clarity because you're trying to satisfy a man's ego. You don't want to push him away. So what? I mean, partially you are to blame for not speaking up. But I can't blame you all the way because we have a society and a culture that normalizes that. We're expected that men have to lead everything, when in reality, we've forgotten there are ways for women to lead men in a way that is harmonious to their ego and to their autonomy. It's like people have just forgotten the possibilities that come along with love and have rewritten the whole entire narrative in a way that just doesn't make any sense. And this doesn't necessarily go with gender. People forget that feminine energy and masculine energy, regardless of gender and self-identity, they're still forms of energy. So regardless of if it's a male or if somebody who's trans male or whatever, I'm just trying to say, or somebody who's gay or somebody who's lesbian, it doesn't matter. That energy has strength in it. So people who have masculine energy, they tend to want to be more protective, more assertive, more like that. People with feminine energy are more gentle. They want to be taken care of. But sometimes we forget that in that submission comes a lot of power, because those who are submissive, women who are highly feminine and come across as submissive, have a lot of hidden power that will actually jumpstart that masculine energy to benefit both of the people in the partnership. And what I mean by that is, if you're in a traditional dynamic with a feminine energy and a masculine energy, I prefer to just go along with the energies because I don't want to discriminate by sexuality or any of that. I think it's really about energy. So if you have a typical dynamic of one person with feminine energy and one person with masculine energy, then both sides of the spectrum come with a set of strengths and weaknesses. So On the women's side, I think sometimes we're lacking because nowadays we have this level of false entitlement that men should just be treating us a certain way without realizing that we do have to offer something in return. And the reason why women are afraid of that or want to have the self-entitlement is because it's insecurity and a fear of vulnerability dressed up as confidence, okay? Because feminine energy requires a certain level of vulnerability that male energy or masculine energy just does not. A lot of women who are maybe extremely feminine are now getting shut down into a masculine energy, not because they are, but because they're afraid of touching that feminine energy. And they justify that fear by saying that they've been hurt before. They justify that fear by saying that vulnerability is scary. However, I counteract that because it's just as scary to mess up your entire energy of who you are simply because you're afraid of losing the people who don't even truly love you to begin with because you're not showing them who you are. That vulnerable feminine energy side, that is strength. That's power. Because guess what? I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be extremely upfront with y'all. I date extremely successful men. I've dated billionaires, millionaires, celebrities, professional athletes. I mean, I've dated all the big dudes, right? But the thing about them that was drawn to me, the thing that they liked about me was that I inspired them. I motivated them. I helped push them to be more ambitious, more masculine. So they wanted to keep me around, and it didn't hurt me to do so. They took care of me. They loved me. They were great. I had dudes who would rent out restaurants to take me on dates. I mean, they were extraordinary, really. And it was all because I learned how to harness my feminine energy. I learned how to be the piece for that masculine energy. I learned how to fuel that ego without feeling like fueling his ego means that I'm taking away from mine. A true man will recognize my greatness. I don't have to prove myself to him, nor do I need to prove myself to anybody else, okay? So at the end of the day, if I'm fueling into my man's ego, I'm not looking for something in return. The something in return is the growth and success of our partnership because he is getting better every day. There is a difference. I'm not looking for what can he give me now. I'm looking at how can we build a legacy long term? Can this man show up as my partner? There's a difference. We're not the same. And I wish that more women would act this way because our dating world would be so much different if women just held up more standards and boundaries with the men that they date because these men exist. They're high value, high quality. They just coast along because there's so many women who are easy nowadays that's genuinely what creates so many issues. People literally get caught up on the illusion of options so much so that they miss out on life-changing blessings. That can be relationships, that can be career paths, that could be anything. But it's like a generation of self-sabotaging individuals hurting themselves and each other because hurt people hurt each other. So if we don't create some kind of a thing, some kind of something that tells people, hey, look, there's beauty in vulnerability, and women tend to harness that strength even better, we can find ways to enhance each other without having to make it a competition. I don't need to prove to a man that I'm amazing because by having him go head over heels and do a bunch of things for me. I don't need to do that. I would never be with a man who doesn't appreciate me. He doesn't need to do that. But that's why when they do, I appreciate it even more because I don't have to ask. They just know. They know me. They know I'm girly and feminine and bubbly. So they treat me exactly how they know a woman like me would want to be treated. It's just that simple. But women are afraid to communicate. They're afraid to hold men accountable. I tell him, look, if you're not opening my doors, I'm just not interested. If you're not okay with bringing me roses and flowers and showing up, I'm just not interested because I know what I offer you is peace in a world that expects you to perform all the time. That's a value you cannot replicate. Okay, so I know my worth. I know my value. I know what I add to a man's life and I'm not willing to compromise it. A few flowers, open doors, that's the bare minimum, babes. That's literally shorter than my heels, okay? Can't be bothered, And that's why I'm saying we need more women who are out here and just being more confident and just like, you don't need to do all that. You just don't. You don't need to perform all the time. What men want is peace. They want safety, especially emotional safety. And women can be like, well, I want the same thing. I want it too. And I get that. But biologically speaking, and also societally speaking, women grow up in environments that help them to nurture and normalize expressing those emotions and communicating them. Men do not experience that, especially not in America. They just don't. They're taught to not cry, overperform. They're taught here in the US that their finance is what dictates their value. That's a part of the American culture. So to be a woman who dates men or masculine people and expect them to now open up to you, be emotionally like available instantly and know what to do in those settings is extremely unrealistic. What you need to do is grow enough to realize that if you are taking on the responsibility of feminine energy in your relationship, you need to own it by harnessing your strengths as a nurturer, as someone who cares, as someone who talks and listens. Because again, when you treat men like that, trust me, please, they will treat you back like that too. You shouldn't have to ask a man to treat you well. You can communicate it if you guys are early on getting to know each other so that they know what you're into. But if you have to go further than that, he's just not in. And I'm so sorry to tell you that, but it's just the truth. Because I dated those dudes. They exist. They're great. They are wonderful. And even though we're not together now, I cannot complain. We didn't end on bad terms. I mean, I would choose that over a bunch of men mistreating me and taking me on subpar dates because they never truly got to know me. We're not the same, okay? And I mean that respectfully as a way to wake you up so you guys can be the same way. We deserve to be treated like princesses. There's nothing wrong with that. Now own it. Don't give up your morals and standards because you're so desperate not to be alone. Girl, grow up. You're an incredible person. You can handle yourself better than anybody else ever could. Remember that, okay? Don't be forgetting who the fuck you are, because that bothers me. So my prompt for this first segment is, why do we rush to rationalize men's harm but interrogate women's boundaries? So now we're going to talk about how blaming the other woman is truly just a trauma response. Okay, and the reason I say that is because in my personal situation, I believe that that person didn't want to admit anything because they wanted to stay in denial. Because the more you stay in denial about the things you know aren't right, the harder it is for you to look inward and realize that what you're doing is truly wrong. If you don't want to take accountability for being mean or not doing something kindly, you're going to start villainizing the person who's to blame, you know, and it's all just a way to rationalize your improper behavior. That's what that is. They're trying to make sure that they don't seem like such a shitty person. So by overcompensating and blaming the other person, they're hoping that it'll make them feel better about themselves. That's the moral of the story in those situations. But it's extremely harmful because then you have a bunch of women who are competing against each other and hating on each other for no reason, when it's literally the man's fault. He's the one who needs to be held accountable. Like, okay, yes, to a certain degree, the woman who's, knowingly doing something. I mean, girl, that's disgusting. Okay, I'm sorry, but I don't know where that man has been. If he's with you and cheating and all over the town like this, dude, you're like literally just openly accepting what are those little things, those dipsticks? It's like a dipstick that's been in like a bunch of different powders and now you're hoping it's clean. I'm sorry. I don't mean it in a mean way. I'm just like, what? You're going to sit here and say, oh yeah, the woman is to blame for getting cheated on. Like, in what world is that justifiable? In what universe? Only in your delusional one. Because you're like, yeah, I don't want to admit that I'm actually kind of a shitty person. So instead of admitting it, I'm going to blame the other person, because the more I villainize them, the better I feel about myself. And that's just so sad. And it's so wrong. Those are the only two things I could possibly say to that. It's just wrong. It's absurd. I don't understand how somebody could think like that. And for me personally, I genuinely respect women so much. I feel like we have it so hard already. The last thing we need is a bunch of women hating on women and hurting each other for no reason. And it's like, at the same time, it's like these women are wasting both of their times. They're beautiful, they're good. They're actually doing better than he is in life. So I'm just like, dude, why are y'all competing over crumbs when you both deserve meals? Y'all deserve to be 6-course meals, and you're over here trying to have a feast with crumbs. Battling for what? Crumbs? Like, come on. Don't do that to yourself. You are wasting your precious time, precious energy on someone who doesn't even deserve your presence. That's crazy. Crazy work. You can't get that time back. And yet, guess what? People can lie to themselves all they want and try and act like you don't get an emotional tie to the people you sleep with, but you do. And it was so obvious that she did. So, that just makes it even messier, more complicated. It's like, don't waste your own time. Don't waste your own heart and feelings and desires. It's just a waste of your own time. Because if he did it to you, are you seriously going to think that he would not do that to you? Seriously? I mean, this dude had multiple partners in multiple states, dude. How in the world? And kids? How in the world are you going to... just... absolutely awful. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I couldn't. My moral compass, I was like, absolutely not. And it's like, what is she going to do if I have a boyfriend? Is she going to like talk to him or try and be all buddy with him? Because like, that's super uncomfortable too. And not only that, but as a girl who's friends with women in relationships, it just makes me so mad because like just imagining myself doing that is disgusting to me. Like absolutely gross. The second I find out that a man is with a girl, it's like you've literally become so instantly unattractive to me that it's not even funny. Like I'm not about that, okay? If one of their guys even message me, I don't respond, okay? I'm not that girl. I will never be that girl. That's why I'm like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing? This is trashy. This isn't cute. This is bad for you. Bad for everybody. I don't care that it's bad for him, but everybody else involved, bad across the boards. We need to get it together. We're hurting each other by doing this. And honestly, this kind of leads to a deeper topic too, because in general, humans tend to do this. It's not even just with dating, but in general, like so many humans will pretty much like, they'll just deflect blame. Because they don't want to blame themselves for situations or take accountability for their own self-sabotage. So instead of taking accountability, they try to just redelegate the blame onto the other person by coming up with false narratives, ideas, and things that will just try to kind of be evidence to prove their false beliefs on that individual person. And it's not great. It negatively impacts friendships, like colleagues. There's so many people. This is what they do, and it's bad because they're self-sabotaging their own life. When you've gotten so far to the point where you need to come up with false narratives in order to deflect from the fact that you make poor decisions with your relationships, like it's time for you to sit the fuck down and start asking yourself, what am I actually doing and what do I actually want out of life? Because that's absolutely unacceptable. And if nobody's ever told you that, it's unacceptable. You can't be out here hurting people because you are afraid of yourself. It's not fair. These are human beings with hearts, with souls. And when we create connections and feelings with people, those feelings and connections can last forever. Something that you've done to somebody or said to someone, it could have been chill to you, but that partner kept it hidden at the fact that it traumatized them, especially men. Men get so traumatized by relationships with women, but they've been so ingrained to believe that they have to hold it all in that they don't communicate their pain. So what happens? They end those relationships and they still carry that trauma. And then they meet a real woman like me who takes care of them, who holds them down, who wants to see the best in them, and they question it. They're skeptical because they're so used to being mistreated that being seen and loved for who they are by a real woman comes across as scary, as a threat, as something that they should fear because it's so unreal. I mean, it sucks. It's the main reason I'm still single. And I'm just like, I hate constantly being too good to be true. That kind of energy. I hate it. Not only that, but it prolongs somebody's happiness too. Because it's like people don't want to accept the truth in that negative experiences will either shape our lives in a positive way or a negative way. And we are responsible for dictating that outcome. And we don't like to take responsibility for that because it's hard to admit. Like, who in the world wants to admit that they have the power to heal themselves from their trauma? It's hard work. People would rather live in denial because when they live in denial, they don't have to hold themselves accountable for all the ways that they're self-sabotaging their own lives. People seem to have really a hard time admitting when they're wrong and also admitting when they're hurting themselves because, again, once you hold yourself accountable, you have to start finding creative ways to get yourself out of your situation. And sometimes people would rather stay comfortable in discomfort and stay comfortable in misery because it's predictable, because you know what's going to happen next. If you never have anything good to expect, that means that you can't get your heart broken, right? But that's not true because life is still lifing at the end, okay? So all the things you're fearing, all the parts of life you're trying to avoid, it's inevitable. You'll continue to experience this pain, maybe in a different font, maybe at a different time, but it will happen just the same. But the difference that you get to choose is, do I have fun despite the pain, or do I spend my entire life preparing for it? And for me, I would rather spend my whole life just enjoying the ride, enjoying the lows and highs that come with life, because at the end of the day, I have no control. None of us have control over tomorrow. I may plan and schedule my life in advance as much as I can, but life is so unpredictable. I'm not promised tomorrow. None of us are. So the only way for us to truly survive in this world is to not deflect our issues, not deflect blame onto others, but to blame ourselves for our own issues, fears, insecurities, instead of projecting them onto others. Because not only are we hurting the world around us, but we hurt ourselves by keeping ourselves stuck in a cycle that is clearly not working towards our overall growth. And then we turn around and we say, why am I not growing? Why am I not happy? Why do I keep attracting the wrong people? Well, it's because you refuse to look inside. You refuse to better yourself for the person you deserve. You refuse to become the person who loves themselves, quite frankly. Because learning to love yourself is learning to love again. And we live in a world that has, for some reason, conditioned people to believe that love is scary, that it's weird, that it's bad, that caring about another person and needing someone else is like this terrible thing that a person could do. And it's crazy because honestly, I mean, as we talked about in episode 1, this is what they want you to believe. This whole entire country is literally run by like the 1 percentile, okay? So the 1 percentile is pretty much what runs all the rest of the 99%. So if the 1 percentile is feeding you information that works for their overall growth, sometimes those beliefs can also come across as mental beliefs, mentality, structures. They'll tell you all the things that they're not doing. They'll curate structures that you feel make sense, even though you're running in a circle. That's why they call it the rat race, okay? These big CEOs, they didn't climb up the corporate ladder. They invented it. You seriously think that these guys were out here climbing the corporate ladder in order to become trillionaires? No, they created the ladder and hired people to work under it. Okay, there's a difference. They climbed straight to the top, okay? They climbed straight to the freaking top and said, hey, I'll drop this ladder. But only if you guys are willing to stay on the ladder and help me to grow. Okay, it's like a never-ending thing. And there's nothing wrong with having a hierarchy system in place. The problem is just that the people we've given power are doing terrible things with that power. So unless we find ways to balance the scale, to redefine what leadership truly looks like and what leadership truly can be, then we're going to continue to see this cycle of normalizing pain, hate, injustice, because how else are we supposed to live our lives if our very own leaders that we're supposed to look up to are replicating that type of destruction? A lot of times I tell people, I have this weird theory about, everybody keeps hating on the orange man. If you don't know who the orange man is, that's my term for Donald Trump, because I feel like when you say his name, there's so many different connotations. And for me, I'm like, hey, orange man, it's the nicest way of poking fun, But I'll use him as a perfect example because, okay, you may agree or disagree with some of the things he has to say, but despite all of that, I would say that overall he's still a pretty hostile and aggressive leader. He showcases a form of leadership that is very aggressive and can cause harm to a large percentage of our population. And that is only one form of power, but we have more that we can tap into that people just choose to ignore because vulnerability is scary and it requires a lot of strength and courage. And a lot of times people don't want to bring that strength and courage online. And that is exactly why I am here to try and use my own platform platform as a way to showcase to the world that vulnerability and kindness can also be its own form of leadership and currency, and that the way that our systems are working now are incredibly outdated, not to dismantle it, but really just to enhance what we've already got going on, honestly. So people can look at him, and I'm like, yeah, well, let's think about this deeper. Let's look at our society. Let's explore the mentality of our socioeconomic climate, right? Right now, we live in a world where people are traumatized. They're traumatized. They're not getting healed from their trauma. They're isolating themselves, and they're believing that isolation is productivity. When in reality, community is the hidden truth that brings success in all fields, all parts of the world, and all throughout history. That has been the case, but they have ingrained us to believe that that is not power and strength, because the more we are isolated, the more they monetize off of our insecurities. They can tap into what our insecurities are, then start feeding us products, information, things that they can market and monetize off of to us in order to either change what we're insecure in or give us that security blanket and validation that keeps us stuck in those insecurities to begin with. And when I listen to that, when I hear that, I'm like, this sounds like we've got a bad, toxic relationship. I feel like us having these negative leaders is like the equivalence of us taking back our toxic exes. But in reality, that's something that happens all the time, right? So are we idolizing negativity? Are we glorifying negativity? Because at this point, that's what it seems like it is. All throughout time, we've had historical leaders and figures of all over the world come to a country like America, a place that's supposed to be cold and distanted from people and each other. We've had big, massive philosophers and historical leaders who come here and create positive change for our country. They create positive change not just for our country, but for the world. It's possible. We're capable of doing so. But the people who have power are choosing not to use it for good. And here we are blaming our entire economy. We're blaming the government. And I blame them for a lot of things. But at the same time, there's tons of celebrities who are making, if not more, the same or if not more money than political leaders are today. And that knowledge scares me, because it's like, okay, well, we're looking at some of these, tech guys, some of these CEOs, some of these political leaders who are earning just the same amount, if not less, than various celebrities. And those celebrities are not doing anything to help. We have people like Kendrick Lamar who are preaching to the choir, even though that choir is a small demographic of individuals who are the individuals of people who cannot actually create power because we are stuck in a system that keeps them down. So you're not really helping. What revolutionary change is he making that's tangible? What systemic differences have happened due to Kendrick Lamar's lyrics? Nothing. Because he's talking about how he's trying to preach and educate a demographics of people that don't fit the demographics of individuals he's attracting. Do you seriously think that these wealthy old white guys, let's be real, because that's kind of what our country is run off of right now, and it's changing slowly. But let's be real. Do you seriously think like an old white man like a Donald Trump is going to listen to a Kendrick Lamar song, take that seriously, and start thinking about the importance of African Americans? No. No offense, but you're stupid if you seriously think that that's going to make a difference. They don't respect that. They don't respect a black person who's screaming the N-word and cursing all the time, because guess what? They are starters of the racism. You're proving their stereotypes. So they may sing and dance along because they know that it's a trendy song, but they don't respect you. That's why nothing's happened systemically. That's why no change has happened. What has he done? What has he actually done? What has he done? Gathered together a bunch of, people from a specific minority, and those minority of individuals don't even have systemic power because of the fact that they've been forced to not have those capabilities statistically. I'm sorry, but it's not doing anything. He should be taking that money and giving back to the streets where he's from. He should be creating programs, doing things, making real change happen. But guess what? He doesn't do that because it doesn't sell. His song does. Wake up. That's all I gotta say is wake up. And even if he's not doing it on purpose, his ignorance is causing harm on a large scale because of his ignorance. And this is why it's important that we balance the scale with leaders and leaderships that are just, based off of empathy, compassion, love, and positive change, not something that's so condensed down and shallow and just not great, really. A lot of people are out here being greedy. They want to be famous because they want to be cool. They want to make money. That's not what I'm here for. My goal isn't to be famous so I can feel my own ego and pride and build up my bank account. I'm here because I believe in humanity, and I believe that we should try to restore faith in humanity, because I look around right now and I see sad people. I see people who are miserable. I see people who are pretending to be isolated and dressing that up as confidence and productivity, when in reality they are breaking inside, crying at home, falling asleep to teardrops on their pillow, having to flip it over because it's too wet from those tears. I mean, this is the reality of what we are experiencing. But we've gotten so good at curating these personas online that now people have just hidden themselves. They've hidden the true aspects of themselves that make them human, and are now projecting an ideology and a real unrealistic lifestyle that's unattainable for most people. I mean, you got models out here in LA who aren't even getting paid and flexing about a lifestyle they can't afford. And I'm not trying to be shady or mean. It's just the truth. It's damaging, because then guess what happens? Now you're going to have a bunch of little kids looking up thinking that that's what happens when you become famous. That's what it is. That's what it takes. It's easy, easy, easy. Now you got all these people risking their futures, giving up on things because they believe that that path is easy, because the favorite celebrity they had sold them ideologies that only help to build their bank account, not actually helping their followers at all. It's like the big scam culture within all these mentors. They only make money because y'all are buying their classes. They're not making money in the ways that they're telling you they're making money. They literally build these classes off of their knowledge, take the money that you guys give them, and then implement all the stuff they're teaching you. At least in most cases. Sometimes they don't even know the real shit. They're not even living the lifestyle they're trying to sell to y'all, okay? That's a lot of the times, actually. And that's what brings me to this topic of what real accountability looks like, because there's a massive difference between compassion and codependency. There's so many times when people will listen to a man's sob story of his childhood traumas and all the things he's been lacking and missing out on his life, because that person is using it as an excuse to justify their lack of effort in that partnership. And so many women will fall for the trap. They're like, oh, but I can heal him by loving him hard enough. I'll heal him from his traumas and everything will just be magical. Girl, stop lying to yourself, okay? Let's be real. You're tired of being single because you're lonely, and this is the one dude who sprinkled some attention on you in a long time that you actually have interest in, because you keep getting hit up by guys you don't like. And so now you're willing to compromise literally everything in your life in order to satisfy this one man, because you don't want him to leave because you don't like being alone. Girl, that's weak. That's not a real woman. That's a child, okay? Don't get it twisted. You're not being compassionate by staying with a man who's unhealthy. You're not being compassionate by listening to his sob story and letting that be the excuse that he uses to not even give you the bare minimum. Are you kidding? Look, my bare minimum is pretty much taller than all the heels y'all could even fit, okay? I keep my standards high. I do not have time for no bullshit. I want a real man who takes care of me, who's traditional, and again, when I say this shit, I only say this because I'm confident in my value. I know what I bring to a relationship. I'm not sitting here expecting for a man to give me everything. I'm expecting him to give me everything because I will give him everything. I'm asking him to match my energy, not asking him to provide. There's a difference. It's mentality switch. We get the same outcome, but the mentality changes, so the quality of the relationship is better. It just is, because the mentality shift. And that's the other thing, is that loyalty should never require the loss of self-respect, which is exactly what happens. Too many times, even men will give their partner the opportunity. They're like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll just let it slide this time. This time turns to 10 times, and now you find yourself a few years in, you don't want to give up because you've just invested all this time, and your ego keeps chiming in on you like, you don't want to admit you wasted your time with this person who's low value. So just stick it out and see if he changes or she changes. You're wasting your time, dude. Especially if you're in your freaking 20s or early 30s. You are wasting your time. These are our most fundamental times of our entire lives. Girl, we're never going to look this hot again. And you are wasting your time with a dusty ass partner who isn't taking care of you like you're taking care of them. That's sad. You're wasting your time. And I know you don't want to hear that, but you are. And the only reason you're staying stuck in that cycle is because of the fact that you are not confident in who you are. You don't believe you're worthy of the life that you dream of. So you stay stuck with the bare minimum, believing that that's all you deserve. Even if you don't admit that to yourself, that's exactly what your inner voice is saying. You're like, hey, I don't deserve a man who treats me right without me asking. And I don't know if he really exists. And I don't know if I'm enough to really date him if he does exist. So you know what? I'm going to satisfy myself with what I can have right now. I'm not going to fully invest emotionally because that way I don't have to risk anything. But it's dumb logic because we always have to risk something. So you got to choose. Are you risking yourself? Or are you risking a chance at being with somebody who's not even worth half your weight in gold? Because let's be fucking for real. So many people are doing this. They ruin their relationships by doing so. Because what people don't understand is that there's a massive difference between silence and consequences. I try to tell my female friends, and the reason I keep going towards women is because I myself am a straight woman, and I feel as though it is disrespectful to try and speak for other people that I am not, I don't identify as. So I'm trying to keep it relatively generalized, but when I speak from like a female perspective, just know I'm not saying this because I think it only pertains to women. I'm saying this because I am a woman who dates men, so it's my only like ability to grasp things is literally from my own personal experiences. But growth starts at consequences. And that's something that women don't want to admit. I keep telling my friends, I'm like, look, if you want a man to treat you right, leave him. And they're like, what? I don't want to leave him. I really like him. I'm like, okay, well, do you want a relationship or do you want a long-lasting, healthy, loving relationship where your man respects you and listens to what you got to say? If the answer is the latter, then you need to build a backbone. You need to start getting stronger. Stop falling for these idiots, man. They're dumb. They're looking for us. They want us. Don't get it twisted. A man is looking for a woman because he wants peace. You seriously think that he's going to be out here in these motherfucking streets working hard, grinding every day, having expectations that we cannot fully understand because we don't have to be providers? You seriously think that that man's going to want to be with a woman who's difficult? Abso-freaking-lutely not. Especially not a man who's high value, because I'll break it down to you right now. This is why they don't want a woman who's difficult or doing too much. It's because of the fact that they're working all day long, talking to other dudes, talking to other men who expect them to constantly perform without emotions. That's not something women can fully understand. Because even if you have other female friends, you'll know that it's very natural biologically for us to talk, spill tea, be honest, be emotional. For men, they may do that, but it's not common. It's not regular enough for it to count as a healthy form of emotional expression, which is why they look towards relationships. They look towards women who can provide them the peace they do not get from the rest of the world. So if they're coming home and you're being all complicated, what do you expect is going to happen? You're demanding all these things without providing anything and then getting upset when the person mistreats you while simultaneously expecting him to understand all your needs without you communicating what they are. Like, how does that make sense? Like, please make it make sense for me, because that doesn't make sense. And then we're going to hate on men and act like they're the ones who are fucking everything up. No, women. We are the ones who are weak, because in a traditional dynamic, women are the ones who set the pace. The man is supposed to take care, provide, continue the courtship, but the woman sets the pace. We dictate the tempo of our courtship. I will have men just freaking lusting all over me, but I don't sleep with the man until there is a relationship on the table. I don't even kiss dudes. I'll befriend a guy for over a year before I even give him a chance. I'm not the one. So again, I'm always trying to remind people, have a backbone, stick up for yourself, because men find that attractive. They don't want a pushover. They don't want a girl who's easily manipulated, because any real man is going to look at you as unattractive. They're going to be like, man, if I commit to her, is she going to be out in the streets? Is she going to be like easily manipulated like I manipulated her? And regardless of if that's wrong or right or misogynistic or whatever words you want to use, it's the reality. That's all I'm saying, is that this is just the reality. Regardless of what we want, it is the reality. And trying to change the reality by hypersexualizing ourselves so that we normalize it, it's not helpful. Hypersexualizing ourselves is fundamentally due to insecurities and a need for validation. We'd be lying to our entire society and our entire generation if we seriously thought that hypersexuality was due to confidence. It's not, even on the male side. Anybody who hypersexualizes themselves is searching for validation or finances. It's just what it is. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it can become harmful to those individuals and all of our entire society at the same time. And keep in mind, when I say this, I don't refer to people who are like sex workers or like corn stars. That's fine. I'm not a prude. It's their job. If that's what they want to do, go ahead. That's a little bit different because it's more professional. I'm talking about like people who just hypersexualize themselves with like dating and relationships. I know some people aren't cool with sex workers. I don't care, man. Have fun with that shit. Okay, I'm not a kink shamer. It's not my cup of tea. I could never do it, nor could I date someone who does. But that's just me. I don't think there's anything less of people who do that. You know what, girl? I like you. I like you too, because guess what? Y'all are my entertainment on the DL. Okay? Let's be real. How are you guys going to hate these individuals then watch their videos when you're alone? Let's be fucking for real. So let's get back on track with the necessity of walking away from men who only understand boundaries after pain is expressed, which is a majority of men. I hope that more people can study attachment theory just because it helps in so many different aspects of life. But in general, most men fall under a dismissive avoidant or fearful avoidant attachment style when it comes to all of the attachment styles. I'm not going to go too deeply into it. If you guys want me to do like a separate episode on my theories tying to the attachment theory and how it pertains to human nature, then I'll do something about that. But right now, what ends up happening is because men are so emotionally like regressed and so emotionally guarded and jaded, what ends up happening a lot of times is they don't know how to process their emotions, especially not in real time. So sometimes what it takes is for you to walk away in order for him to understand and appreciate the boundaries you set. Sometimes a man needs to experience pain before he respects you. It's just a fact. It's not being mean. It's just a fact. Because, like, for example, when a man does something to me that I feel is not okay, or I find it unattractive, I tell him. I say, hey, look, I didn't like that. I didn't appreciate that. That was unattractive. He does it again. I leave. I walk away. I say, hey, no hate on you. I really like you. I think you're a great guy. But it doesn't seem like we align in our values, morals, and standards because I'm looking for a partner who does such and such and such. But too many women are afraid to just do that, even though it's the bare minimum of communication. They're afraid to speak up for themselves because they don't want to jeopardize the chances of losing the guy that they like. It's terrible. Don't do that to yourself, honey. Just don't. You don't need to be doing that to yourself. Because trust me, they always come back, especially when you end on good terms. I mean, I have exes out there right now that I could probably call right now. They'd answer and be totally down for us to go on a date again. They'd pay for everything, open all my doors, probably pick me up, make a reservation in advance. Because again, I do not associate myself with men who are not high value. And if I do associate myself with a man who may not be as high value as I'm looking for, he better switch that shit up real quick or guess what, I'm gone. Because to me, high value isn't defined by finances. That's not what I mean by high value. What I mean by high value is a man who respects a woman enough to put aside his ego and pride and to take care of her using his soft side. I don't want to be treated like all your bros. I don't want to be treated like all the girls on your phone. I want to be treated like the princess I am. I want to be treated like the woman who makes your world light up because that's what I will do. When I commit to a man, I don't half-ass that shit. I commit hardcore. I will spend every single day of my entire life dedicated to making you happy, dedicated to making you small in even just the smallest ways. Okay, I'm the type of like girlfriend who would pretty much write a handwritten love letter and hide it in your briefcase so that when you get to work and open it, you see a hidden love letter. Okay, I'm that extra. Because I'm a philosophical writer who's obsessed with romance. But if I'm going to do all of those things, I need a man who's going to reciprocate in his own way. I don't need him writing love letters. If he wants to, that's great. One of my non-negotiables, though, is roses and flowers because I love that. That's a requirement. I need a man who's okay with getting me those things. And also, in general, it's like, I don't know. I feel like we need to be holding these men accountable. You need to know what you want, what you're looking for in a relationship, and start holding the men that you date accountable for that, because you're hurting yourself, you're wasting your own time, and you're wasting their time, because a man who actually likes you will stay, regardless of if you give up your body, he will stay. And I hear so many women, they're like, yeah, but if he really likes you, then he's not going to leave after he sleeps with you. And it's like, yeah, but girl, you didn't even give him time to get to know you. He doesn't even know you. He knows your kitty cat better than he knows you. And you're going to tell me that he's going to want to stay after that? For what? For what? What are you offering him that another girl can't offer? This is LA, babes. This is LA in 2025. If you get a high value man, I will tell you right now, you could go through his phone and see women with legs wide open, because that's how easy it is for them. So if you're not bringing anything other than your body, they'll get bored real quick. They may give you attention for a month, maybe 2-3 dates if you're lucky. But after that, ghosted. Okay? And it's not like I'm saying all men are like this or all people are like this. It's all a trauma response. This is just trauma. It's people who have trauma and insecurities constantly projecting onto each other. Nobody's bad. It's just the reality. It's psychological dynamics, psychology, facts. I'm not just coming at you guys from my ass. I'm telling you guys based off of real psychological facts. And that's exactly why I find it so important for women to really just walk away, because we need men to experience the consequences. It's like the same as anything. If you reward bad behavior, nothing is going to change. But if you decide to hold yourself to a higher standard, including your partners to a higher standard, you're going to eliminate the ones who aren't real, and you'll find the person that you're looking for. Because staying stuck in a situation that doesn't make you happy isn't going to bring that person closer to you. Even if you guys did end up together, you can't promise that they'll change. So are you really going to fall in love and date someone for their potential, or are you going to show up as you and fall in love with someone for who they are right now? Too many men have never faced a consequence that didn't come from a woman breaking down instead of walking away. And that's exactly why we're going to talk about the power of being a girl's girl. And it's like, what does it really mean to be a girl's girl in action and not just in captions? It's talking highly about other women behind their backs instead of acting catty and competitive. It's not allowing for men to disrespect us and make us hate each other all because of their own idiocy, really. And honestly, it's revolutionary for us to believe women at default anyways, because the more women come together, the stronger we are against men. We keep forgetting how strong the feminine energy truly is, but all throughout history, we've seen time and time again that the most powerful leaders in the world, anywhere across the countries and world, really, you've always seen that they had a woman who helped to rule alongside them, if not had a female ruler. America is actually one of the only countries in the world that has not yet had a female president or female ruler. So obviously that's a clear showcase to us that feminine energy is very much appreciated. And like, that's why I'm saying the feminine energy is absolutely appreciated and has its own strengths. So really the trick is to find women who can finally learn how to harness them by empowering each other. The more we empower each other, and the more we stay ourselves instead of trying to adjust to a misogynistic society and culture, the more we build our strength back up, and the more we get respected as women instead of having to, change ourselves to fit into a male space or a male kind of dictated environment, I also think it's super important that we create some kind of a sisterhood where we honor each other's discomfort, because right now I just see so many times where I feel like women will have other female friends and it's almost as if they're like, gassing up this delusional mindset of like, maybe he will change, maybe this guy likes you, but he doesn't, girl. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we need to get used to telling each other the truth, because the more we keep trying to protect each other from hurting and like protect each other from our feelings being hurt, the more we're hurting each other. To be a good friend is sometimes to say the things that your friend does not want to hear, especially if you feel like it's going to help them long term, help them to build a better future. It's better to tell the truth always than to co-sign your close friends or a person that you say you love's self-sabotage due to the fact that you're uncomfortable with discomfort. It's not real friendship. It's not real support. Real support is showing up and saying the real shit, even if it hurts, because again, too many women, we want to blame the men. So when one of our female friends comes to the table, we having drinks and we're talking and being cute and we're talking about men, let's be real. A majority of us are blaming men for our issues, when in reality, We are partially to blame for the outcomes that happen. People forget that relationships take two people to tango. It's not possible for one person to be 100% responsible for the ending of a relationship. One of the biggest red flags you'll ever find in someone you date is if they only have negative things to say about their ex. It shows to you that they haven't actually grown or learned from their past relationship, and most likely still harness a lot of subconscious, resentment towards their previous partner. And that's not the kind of dynamic that will help you to grow a rich, loving future with that person. It just won't. And we can keep pretending like making each other feel good is the best thing to do, but it really just isn't. I'd rather have a friend who's real with me than have a friend who lies to me about how things are going. Why would you co-sign my downfall? If I'm self-sabotaging, tell me I'm self-sabotaging so I can learn how to grow and heal. Don't keep me stuck in the darkness if you know where the light switch is at. That's not true friendship. You're like, oh yeah, my friend is comfortable in the dark, so I'm not going to turn on the light even though it's right here. How does that make sense? Make it make sense for me, because I'm not seeing how it makes sense, You want to show up in this world authentically, or say that you show up in this world authentically without actually showing up authentically. It's like people believe that authenticity doesn't require vulnerability when it does. Too many people are like, oh, I'm so real. I'm always genuine and authentic. But no, you're not, because you're incapable of being vulnerable. If you can't even talk about your feelings, emotions, insecurities, fears, like, how can you call yourself capable of being vulnerable? If you don't love yourself, how in the world can you love someone else? And how can you learn to love someone else? It starts at you. It starts within. And nobody can start to question themselves until someone they respect starts to question them. And that's why it's so important that we hold our friends, our family members, everybody accountable, because again, this is how we create a healed society, a world of happy, healthy individuals who are no longer trauma dumping on each other, but spreading more love, because it starts from within. People are upset with the climate that we're in as a country and our society and all the things that are going on. Well, that's what partially contributes to it, is the fact that we're unwilling to heal. We're unwilling to face the ugly truths within ourselves. We are unwilling to do the work that it takes because we are so used to convenience that even a small mountain feels like Mount Everest, okay? We've gotten so used to everything being given to us in various ways, and I'm 25, which is why I'm saying I know. It's not like I'm some old fart who's like complaining about the younger generation. I'm complaining about my own generation, and it's like, everybody's so used to like this fast fashion, fast content, fast everything, and it ruins our lives completely. You stay so tuned in, so connected with what's going on there, you lose yourself in the process and forget who you truly are without the performance. And then young people look at this performance as if it's reality, and we just continue the cycle of hurt people hurting people and feeding them information that's false in order to succeed, at the detriment of those who watch. It's a never-ending cycle. It's pretty much what I'm trying to say. It's a never-ending cycle, and the only way for us to break that cycle is to become truly authentic and real with each other. If you have a female friend and you know that she's being disrespectful to her boyfriend, don't try and latch onto her side because she's your friend. Be real and say, hey, the way you're treating your man is disrespectful, and that's probably why he's acting out like this. It's probably why he's not talking to you as much, because when he is talking to you, you're not being very kind. You're getting very upset. You're asking for things. You're just doing things that aren't great. And you need to be able to do that. We're adults. We should be able to handle the truth. How in the world are you going to grow? How in the world can you expect yourself to become successful if you can't handle the truth? You can't handle productive criticism. You can't handle somebody saying, no, I don't want you. I don't like you. You can't handle that. You'll never be successful. Okay? It'll take 100, probably 99 no's before you get that last one that gives you 100%. Okay? It's just life. That's how life goes. It's hard. It's stressful. And that's why I always encourage people to reflect and just really ask yourself this question. Have I ever protected a man more than I protected another woman? And I swear, I feel like the answer to that is yes. I truly do. And it makes me upset. It makes me very upset. Because I don't like that. I don't like that when a man cheats, the two women fight over each other. For what reason? Like, for what reason? Even if you wanted to be mad at the girl because she was aware of the fact that he was with someone, it's like he's still to blame. He's the one who's in a relationship. He should be the one saying no. That's unforgivable. There's no excuse in the book that you can use to justify that. And any woman that finds a man like that attractive has serious issues. They clearly don't value themselves. They don't believe they have anything real to actually offer, and they don't want to have to just sleep around with random dudes because they know that that would make them feel bad about themselves even more. So they latch on to the same dick over and over and over again, even though he's not doing anything except providing you that dick. Like, come on, do better than that, girl. Find you a man who can give you that and 10 times more, because honestly, that ain't shit, man. Like, no, just absolutely not. Don't come to me and say that it's a woman's fault that she's getting cheated on. Absolutely disgusting. Now that is a real bottom feeder. So now it's for us to talk about how you can reclaim your compass. You know, it's leaving space where loyalty is a performance and betrayal is romanticized. We can't romanticize betrayal. We have celebrities who will literally cheat on their friends, their family members, and then are still glorified as celebrities. One of the best people I can think of right now is Ariana Grande. I never liked her. I will never like her, and I do not like her. I don't care how talented you are. The fact that you cheated on your best friends with, like, it's just too much. You cheated with your best friend's husband while she was pregnant, or at least had an infant. That is actual trash. That's literal trash. We don't want to slut shame people. To me, that's what a slut looks like. That's not what you do. That is so backwards and so wrong. And any real woman would understand that hurting a woman like that during that time especially is even worse. She's freaking pregnant, dude. Either that or she just gave birth. Do you know how many women suffer from postpartum depression already? Then to find out that her stupid ass husband just cheated on her with her best friend? Are you kidding me? That's psychotic. She's a psycho bitch, and I don't like her, and people can be mad at me, but there's a difference between talent and being a shitty person, okay? And you can be a shitty person who's also talented, and that's pretty much what she is at the end of the day. And you gotta understand that you gotta choose solitude over self-abandonment. Going out there and just giving yourself away to people who aren't even deserving of your time and energy because they're not pouring into you the same way that you're pouring into them, it's a waste of time, and you're betraying yourself in the process. You're leaving yourself behind. Every time that a person disrespects you, or a guy that you're dating disrespects you, just think to yourself, would you ever do that to them? Would you ever be attracted to a friend who treats you that way? If the answer is no, then you're with the wrong man. And it's just a fact. You can't keep lying to yourself and pretending like the person you're with is somehow magically going to change into that Prince Charming you're looking for. What you love is potential, not the man in front of you. Get it right. And that's why I have a hard time dating, because I'll meet these men, I'll fall in love with who they are right now, accept them, make them feel like they're enough, and because they're not used to that energy, they freak out and get cold feet, and I gotta walk away because I don't have time for a man who's uncertain. I never leave in bad terms. I always leave in good terms, just always saying, like, I don't think you're ready for what I'm looking for right now, but like maybe we can connect in the future. And honestly, that's been the best way for me to go about things so far. So I'm like, I would suggest more people do that in general. But at the end of the day, we got to stop doing this whole thing where we romanticize just betrayal and negative things and make excuses for people who do bad things. You know, we can't keep just losing ourselves in relationships because we're so afraid of being alone. If you are seriously that afraid of being alone that you would settle for a relationship with somebody you're better than, then I really encourage you to sit with yourself and to think about your own worth, what you add, why in the world you don't believe you're valuable, or why in the world you think you deserve the bare minimums, because again, that's an internal thing. That's an internal battle. You're normalizing mistreatment because it's all you know. So anything you see where there could be a guy who's better, you don't feel like that's attainable for you. So instead of actually shooting for a man who will treat you right, you satisfy yourself for less than. You settle. And the thing that's so dangerous for women is that it's more dangerous for women to settle than it is for men. Men have a lot more opportunities out there in the world, and they don't face as many dangers as we do. They have their own experiences of danger, don't get me wrong, but women do face a lot more when it comes to that. We're much more vulnerable and sensitive to prey, to all types of things. So when we rely on, and especially lose ourselves to a man who's not good for us, they can tear us down. They can make us feel like we aren't beautiful, or they can make us feel in ways that just cut us down, especially if you're a woman who's still insecure and you end up with a man who's extremely insecure. He will try and cut down your value in order to make himself feel equal. He'll tell you that all the things that make you beautiful are too much so that you condense yourself down into someone more palatable for his personal enjoyment. A lot of men are intimidated by strong, intelligent, powerful women because they know that they can't control them in this weird subconscious superficiality way. But at the end of the day, they still will respect you more, and the real men will be attracted to you. You don't want a little boy, guys. We can't keep doing this to ourselves. We need to up the ante. We need to make these men work harder for our approval, for our attention. I mean, maybe not we, because I'm not like that. Guys have to work pretty hard to get my attention. But in general, it just needs to change. I want to see something change. You know, real love it doesn't require you to doubt your worth. You know, a lot of times people are used to these toxic relationships or toxic dynamics within relationships. And because they've never experienced a healthy relationship before, they start to confuse love with self-worth and chaos. It's like if chaos has come attached to your perception of love in the past, then a healthy representation of love, romance, and stability is going to come across as scary because it's not normal for you. It's abnormal. It breaks your patterns, your normal patterns. You're used to chaos, you're used to danger, you're used to fear. And so when you're faced with a person who is peace and quiet and nice and pleasing, if you're not used to that type of environment and you're not ready to handle the health and the healing and the growing that comes along with the connection like that, then you're confusing chaos for love. Because a girl yells at you and gets upset with you for not texting her within a few hours, that's not love, that's control. If a man is trying to control what you wear while simultaneously telling you it's because he doesn't want anybody else to have you like him, that's not love or appreciation, that's control. And both of those forms of control are rooted in a lack of trust issues and abandonment issues, which is really what trust issues are. It's just abandonment issues wrapped up in all these extra little things, you know. But what it really is trust. People have a hard time trusting nowadays, and it messes up our relationships to our friends, families, and romantic partnerships. So I guess this is the affirmation I'll give you for this is I'll keep my intuition, I'll keep my boundaries, and I'll keep walking out of rooms where integrity has been replaced by ego. So I would like to close this off with a nice reflection so that we can talk about the central truth that if you have to question if he respects you, he doesn't. If you have to question if he's loyal, he isn't. If you have to question whether the other woman is the problem, she isn't. And I really encourage you guys to reflect on this one question and let me know if you say yes or no to this. But yes or no, do you think women should hold each other to higher standards instead of blaming each other for men's disrespect? Let me know. Put it on my IG somewhere, drop a comment on my YouTube video, or even just let me know on the comments on Spotify. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I thank you so very much for joining me in this journey. Every day, every episode, we are learning more about the philosophical takes of life, taking controversial topics, hot takes, and interesting social issues, and turning them into something we can examine through a philosophical lens that is rooted in empathy, compassion, and kindness and love. So I'm very happy that you guys are here with me. Each person who supports me is actually a part of a massive movement where we are going to prove that we can redefine leadership in celebrities by creating a brand that is positive and rooted in authenticity and vulnerability. So I thank you guys again so much for being a part of this, for listening to my thoughts, hearing my lectures, and reading my diaries. If you want to find me, if you want to reach out to me more consistently, please hit me up on my Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I would love to talk to you guys in my DMs and get to know you guys more. So I love you guys so much, and I will see you on Tuesday at 6 a.m. PST. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I love you so much. XOXO LJ.